Hey everyone, welcome to ParsiQ AMA. It's been a while since we did one dedicated to ParsiQ, I think about 5 weeks, and it's been a hectic time for the team as they're building, and so much going on. We have everyone attending conferences, networking. We have people in NFT LA. Avalanche Summit in Barcelona just ended, quite successful, and currently it's ETH Dubai, and so we're pretty spread out, trying to speak to all kinds of partners all around the world. ParsiQ is actually co-hosting a crypto dinner tonight, which will be one of the main evening events at ETH Dubai. So pretty exciting stuff. But for today, the purpose of today's AMA, in addition to answering some of the questions here, is to give you a bit of an overview of what we're building, where we're going, what we're focusing on, give you a rough understanding of the roadmap, and yeah, I'll dive into it after I take some initial questions. It's going to be a pretty informative AMA, as I'll be going over the whole shift of focus and product. After today's AMA, so tonight, we will also publish my second CEO letter, which is a follow-up to the first one, which gives an even more in-depth understanding of what we're building, and it will be accompanied by a roadmap. You may also see some articles, some press releases that some publications might have taken around nothing much, but we're making a small event out of this, as it's a start of a larger journey. I'll take some questions first, and then I will dive into the new ParsiQ product. Hey Ross, nice to see you. Hope the skiing is going well. All right, first question. Why initially you had no interest in creating PRQ token? Also, what arguments Kevin had to use in order to change your opinion? Well, we had, the way we built ParsiQ is a centralized software platform. So it's not that the token was necessarily needed at first. It could have existed without the token, theoretically, back in 2018 when we we spent time with Kevin, and the same could be said for Coin Metro. I mean, exchanges could easily also exist without tokens, but if the token can actually give utility and capture value, and if we could figure out eventually a model to do this, then it did make sense. And also, it was, unfortunately, at that time, 18, 19, it was slightly easier to raise for tokens than for equity, because all the equity VCs that have approached years ago, they said, like, blockchain, nah, that's a scam. So it was tricky. But yeah, I mean, we decided in favor of the token pretty fast. Grateful for the Q2 reward program. However, when do you foresee ParsiQ revenue high enough where reward programs are no longer needed? I think a significant shift will come with the new product. This is a focused product. that will allow us to increase revenue streams. So I'm thinking, this is not a guarantee that we'll do incentive programs the whole year. I don't know that yet, but I'm thinking maybe if we release all the milestones, we reach all the milestones on the roadmap that is about to be published, then we could see maybe starting next year, starting 2023, it should be high enough to be attractive. Do you see the growth of PARSIQ increase along with IQ NFT rental market, and why? Well, for multiple reasons. First of all, we will use PARSIQ's new product, IQ protocol, and the NFT rental market. We'll use PARSIQ's new product as its backend. And it's a great case study that other DeFi protocols, other NFT application can and will do the same. So I think, IQ Labs will even be paying or renting to use it. So that's usage in itself. In addition, I also think that most of the enterprises or games or service providers and dApps who will deploy renting pools and NFT rental contracts and IQ protocol will also be utilizing it. I think I mentioned on the last AMA, we have a great idea where IQ protocol could provide this monitoring of staking pools of NFT rentals to these enterprises for free. But since the protocol is taking fees from the rentals, a portion of the fees could go to PARSIQ for providing this service. So it's definitely a revenue increase. Recently, in an AMA, Kevin Mirko mentioned that the utility of PRQ is lacking. But he mentioned that there are many smart people in PARSIQ. Could you comment about the utility of PRQ tokens? Now, before launching the IQ protocol, I would 100% agree. I mean, it had very limited utility. It could only be used for payments, and I'm not a fan of payment tokens or app coins, as we call them. Very limited utility, not really usable in everyday life. But with IQ protocol, I think it actually gives it utility. So it's needed, and token holders can benefit. Now, with the new product and the PARSIQ DAO that we're planning, this will give it additional utilities. But more on that later. Okay. About PRQ, because I believe in PRQ, was disappointed to see IQ developed as a PRQ product and then spun off. Well, this is a tricky thing. All I can say is IQ was needed to give PARSIQ utility to create a circular economy around the PARSIQ products and the token. So it actually solved our problems. But it became so big and had so many use cases that spinning off and becoming its own project with its own dedicated team was the logical step. I mean, we had a lot of interest from projects to use this. And this doesn't take anything away from PARSIQ. I mean, it has a separate development team. We don't separate budget, separate investors. So they are two different projects that have great synergies and actually benefit each other. Is PARSIQ able to provide any statements on usage or analytics on how many triggers were actioned or set up? Yeah, well, the thing about this, we do have the usage summary ready. However, the growth of the last, let's say, 3 to 6 months, it has been growing, but the growth is stagnant. The growth isn't in such large numbers as it was during our first year of getting the product live. And the reason for this is what I explained a couple of AMAs ago. The reason is that we developed the project and the product in a way, I mean, we started in 2018. And back then, not many were doing anything with blockchain data. I mean, you had Google BigQuery doing something with Bitcoin and a couple of others, but nothing really. So we kind of had a first mover advantage. And now everyone is full of data solutions, the whole market. But we built it in a different way than anything else. We built it in a way that no one else did. I mean, the smart triggers, the events, the if this then that workflows, pushing data, the streams instead of querying databases. We were quite unique. Unfortunately, we built it in a way that it was a platform that anyone could create their own use case on, and that had limitations. To get an adoption for a platform, you either need to do a lot of marketing, like put millions, tens of millions, as we've seen from other projects doing big projects, even layer one, alternative layer one, layer two blockchains. That's the only way they get adoption. I mean, ETH is one of the only platforms that people are building on without incentives, without additional incentives. So building as a platform wasn't maybe the best direction, but it actually provided us with the foundational technology. And if you think it's if you think about how ParsiQ has evolved, I mean, we've had the initial thousands of users, like over 100 projects using our tech, and but we've run into the growth stagnation because as soon as we had someone come in, they only had 60% of their needs covered with the current platform. Everything else had to be custom made for them. And sometimes building these custom editions, it requires a lot of time, a lot of dev resource, and it costs more money than they would pay for an annual subscription. So it didn't make sense. It wasn't scalable. And without pouring like tens of millions of funding, incentives, grants, investments to get people to build on us, it just didn't make sense. So that's why we made the decision to make the new product on top of the ParsiQ platform, which will be focused, which will be ready to use for every Web3 application, every Web3 protocol, and it will solve their problems from the get-go. So I think this will actually help us grow revenue a lot and get a lot more adoption. Will the circulating supply of ParsiQ be capped at 190 million instead of 310 million? I heard the remaining 120 million will be sent away and not to be added to overall circulating supply. This is undecided. There are scenarios where like a part of that 125 million could be taken and given to the DAO treasury, the upcoming ParsiQ DAO, and the token holders can vote for like developer grants and things. So maybe put some of those funds for good use. Any update on governments? Yeah, well, like I said, these things take a lot of time. So the way we see it going forward, that the current ParsiQ platform, it doesn't make sense for us to do custom integrations to cater to individual projects' needs. It's not scalable. It's too not cost efficient. The new product will be the go-to infrastructure and data for Web3. The original platform, the current platform, will mostly be used. It will become sort of like ParsiQ Enterprise or ParsiQ Institutional. Currently, we call it ParsiQ Core, and it will remain for these big players. I mean, those with huge contracts where it's actually justified to do custom work for them. The governments, the traditional corporations. This is sort of the plan. Why is the amount of PRQ borrowed from always the same? About 3 million PRQ. This number has been the way for many months, despite price changes and new clients. So we get revenue in different portions, right? Some of clients actually have to renew their annual subscriptions, but we try to spread it evenly, because if we do like a big chunk of borrowing and don't do for the rest of the month, then the rewards are front loaded, so it's going to be an issue for people joining later. They will be receiving less share. So spreading it out makes more sense and seems more fair. Are you concerned that Anatoly is acting as a CEO for two projects? Is he able to fully concentrate on both of them? Well, as far as I know, he's only the CEO of Blockvis, which is his own development company, and where he, which actually runs by itself. So no, I'm not concerned. He's not the CEO of PARSIQ nor IQ Labs. The supply question, I think I covered that one. So it's still undecided. There could be initiatives where we can use portions of that reserve wallet for good use to actually develop the project. Exchange listings, the favorite question. We have them lined up, so at least one of them is coming relatively soon. So we just wanted to get out get the roadmap out, get my CEO letter out, and announce the new product and what we're building and where we're going before doing the listings. So it will be a nice string of events for the ParsiQ community. Will the merge? Will the existing technologies merge with the new product? Somewhat, yep, they will. I will get to that in a second after I cover some more questions. Yep, I think we're at this point where I can give you a bit of a teaser on what we're building and what it's going to be, for whom, and what's the plan. You'll get more information later today on our socials, on our Medium. You'll see my CEO letter published. You'll see announcements. You'll see a high-level roadmap of the new product, and some other things. But the concept that we're building right now, we call it the ParsiQ network. And the idea is we take the existing technology, which means the smart triggers, the retrospective triggers, even reverse triggers, and everything else, the data, the infrastructure that we've built, and we use it in the new product. So the ParsiQ network is an ecosystem of different core parts of the product that we will be releasing one by one according to the roadmap. And the first part is the Tsunami API. And the Tsunami API is our core API through which clients, users can get any kind of blockchain data. Real-time, historical data, and it will be... so when we tested it, I think I've mentioned this before, but when we tested it, we could retrieve data from 1 million blocks in less than a minute. I think it was 25 seconds or something. To my knowledge, I don't think I've seen a data API as fast and efficient. We've built it in a way that's going to be scalable, have throughput. We'll have large limitations on API calls. So I think this will be usable by anyone. Obviously, sorry. think we have a nice question. Tsunami is a product you already have and have had for a long time. No, not quite. So it's the first part of the PARSIQ network, because it incorporates the retrospective data, the real-time smart triggers, and everything else, and makes it available through an API endpoint. We didn't actually have this on our platform. And it will be multi-chain. It will cover a lot of EVM chains, including one that's, you probably haven't heard of, haven't heard from us that we're integrating yet. And it will be for core fundamental raw blockchain data. Any kind of data you can query, you can get real life events from it, and so on and so forth. IQ model of staking or renting to use will work there, and we anticipate a lot of users for this API. But that's only the first stage. After that, directly, we will be releasing what we call data lakes. And data lakes are integrations of decentralized finance protocols, of decentralized applications, dApps. Only it will be custom tailored data. So we'll dive deep into the logic of these protocols and dApps and create dedicated lakes for them, which anyone can also query through dedicated APIs, which will be forks of the Tsunami API, but only there will be an API for each specific lake. Who will use those data lakes? First of all, dApps and protocols themselves are the target audience. So they will use it for their backend. How a dApp works is you have the blockchain part, you have the smart contracts, you have a visual front end that you as a user interact with, and the rest, which actually connects them, is the backend, which you don't see. And with PARSIQ network, dApps and protocols can build their entire backends, serverless backends, on the PARSIQ network. So they will be able to utilize the data lakes for themselves. Those who are building products, Web3 applications, those who have already built, and we will also be approaching the big ones, the big protocols, the market leaders in DeFi and NFTs and decentralized applications. Because even if they don't want to use something new for their Web3 backends, they will still be happy that the data lakes of their protocol, of their dApp, will be available on the PARSIQ network, that anyone can use and query, like third parties. And for example, analytics companies, any kind of DeFi trackers, any third parties who need that specific custom tailored data of that specific app or protocol can use those APIs. So the data lakes will come with the data hubs, which is storage, where these dApps and protocols can store their on-chain, off-chain data, anything. So essentially, it becomes backend infrastructure for Web3. Something like Google Firebase or similar, where you don't have to host anything. You just you have a full suite solution on the PARSIQ network. And we are using this on-chain, off-chain hybrid approach. And this approach means that a lot of the Web3 applications are hosting parts of their apps off-chain, some logic, NFT metadata, a bunch of things are actually stored off-chain because it's too costly to store these things on-chain. And we are big proponents of this hybrid model, where you can mix on-chain and off-chain, and you can have the advantages of decentralization while not sacrificing like speed and scalability and things like these. So these types of centralized/decentralized solutions, I think, are and will be more and more popular. I've had a long discussion with Kevin from Coin Metro a while ago, and he agrees that hybrid models, even for exchanges, might be the future, where you have custody of your own funds and you only do the trade through exchanges. And we see this approach as being the best in the market. So serverless backend infrastructure for your Web3 applications, build anything for your backend on the ParsiQ network. That's the idea. So shall we take some questions here before I go on, because we have a lot of things to cover. How does this compare with the graph? I mean, I would say that it's faster than the subgraphs. With that being said, the graph is also always improving themselves. So they have a great team, a big team. So I don't want to get into the competitiveness of all this. However, the advantage here is, first of all, we have storage in addition to just getting the data. So you can store things on the data hubs and build your full backend, not just query data. So it's much more than data querying. Secondly, you don't have to resync nodes with the graph. You and other solutions, you have to resync nodes, which can take days, weeks, and so on and so forth. With us, it actually saves a lot of time, and it is different. It is different. We went over most of the competitors, and we think no one has done a solution exactly like this. So there are other advantages like the data lakes, which are the custom tailored DeFi and dApp data, which means we take a look and we integrate the internal logic of these applications and protocols, which will make the life of these dApps and any third parties who want to use data from these dApps and protocols much easier. Exchanges not soon. Yeah, I think I covered it. We were waiting for quite soon. Exactly. So this is the plumbing for Web3. This is the whole back end. So you have your smart contracts, you have your front end, the visual front end. Everything else you can do in ParsiQ. You can store, you can query, you can connect Web2 to Web3, so on and so forth. So someone really can build a better Etherscan with ParsiQ now. Now, yeah, actually, Explorers could be built on the ParsiQ network, which brings us to another milestone on the roadmap, which is an Explorer. So what we'll do is we will take all these data lakes that we've done, that we will integrate, and on top of them, we'll build a visual front end as an Explorer, but it will not be a general Explorer like Etherscan. It will be a DeFi and dApp specific Explorer. So think of it like you have a kind of a aggregator or marketplace of all these dApps and DeFi protocols and NFT applications. You can click on each one, see any kind of the recent data summaries on their usage and what's happening, and dive deeper, like who is borrowing, who is prepaying, who is getting liquidated, who is posting collateral, so on and so forth. So a user-facing, retail-facing BTC type of Visual Explorer is coming on top of the data lakes. In addition, we will have an SDK. So the SDK will allow for even better interaction with our APIs, and it will allow other developers from outside the ParsiQ team to build these data lakes for us. And this is where the ParsiQ DAO can come in. So since we're going a slightly more decentralized route, before we were a completely centralized software platform, and now we're sort of doing this hybrid version of this, then I think a ParsiQ DAO makes sense. It's on the roadmap, and not all details will be revealed, but definitely voting rights for token holders are coming, voting on a lot of things, including on developer grants to integrate more data lakes. So outside developers can be incentivized by the ParsiQ DAO to begin via grants to develop these data lakes for us, so we don't have to integrate all of them. I also foresee projects like dApps and protocols coming to the PARSIQ DAO and submitting proposal, please integrate our data lake. And this is something the community can vote on, the token holders can vote on, among many other things, of course. Are we starting to compete with Chainlink, or are we just an aggregator of sorts providing their data? Not yet. I'd say no, not competing in this. It's basically infrastructure data for the backends of any Web3 applications, with storage, with data APIs, with SDKs. But I haven't really covered the whole roadmap yet, so there might be a little bit overlap with oracles if I ever get to the final stage of the roadmap. Tsunami API, data lakes, data hubs. With projects, dApps require any other external data service, or PARSIQ now providing it all. Well, that's the point of the PARSIQ network, that you don't have to go anywhere. You get all your data and backend infrastructure needs for Web3 from one place. Storage, data, historical, real time, anything. So you don't need to go anywhere. You just need to have the smart contracts and maybe a visual front end. That's it. You build everything else on the PARSIQ network. Those sound amazing. Are these free open APIs, or will it require PRQ to use? No. So they will definitely require PRQ for like B2B usage. We might allow for a certain number of API calls per day for free without holding PRQ. Will the IFTTT data triggers be 100% customizable now to fully address the full 100% needs of the clients now? It will address 100% the full needs of the clients who want to use it for backend infrastructure for their Web3 applications, or third parties who need that data. It will not cover, some other use case. I mean, that's the point of the product, that not to spread our focus on a million different things and do everything like well enough, but not great, but rather do one big thing, but be the market leader in it. Another project is providing this suite of plumbing for Web3O. Just trying to figure out how we are differentiating from the other Oracle services. There are API providers, but that's about it. I mean, there is competition, of course there is, but like I said, as a whole package, the PARSIQ network will cater to all the needs of building your Web3 backend. Yes, you will get the roadmap today along with my letter publication, and there might be some news here and there on media publications regarding the PARSIQ network and the Tsunami API. Okay, does PARSIQ plan to build its own chain in the future, kind of like ETH? Not quite. Overlap of an oracle got my attention. Can you please expand? Well, this is where we're going a bit further. So the next stage, we've covered, the Tsunami API, which is the core API for getting real-time and historical data from blockchains, the fundamental and raw data. from these decentralized networks. Then we have the data lakes, which are custom tailored data for specific apps, dApps, and protocols. We have the data hubs with the data lakes, which is storage for these dApps and protocols to store, to use for their backend. We have the SDK to allow developer engagement and to outsource these data lake integrations and so on and so forth. We have the PARSIQ DAO, which will oversee some of these initiatives and will be able to vote and make proposals and vote on proposals. And the next stage is what we call like a PARSIQ hybrid. And PARSIQ hybrid is kind of mentioned it already. This is a piece of infrastructure of the PARSIQ network that allows you to combine on-chain and off-chain when you're building your dApp and do tasks. This is where the reverse trigger technology will be utilized. This is basically like it will be centralized in the sense that if a dApp or protocol building their backend on the PARSIQ network wants to automate some kind of on-chain actions, deploy smart contracts, anything, they can they use the API and then they submit, they automate the process. They submit the request to the PARSIQ network. At that point, PARSIQ hybrid to execute. And we thought of a good architecture to really do this, and this will really solve a lot of problems for projects building dApps, building protocols, because they can do everything by interacting with this one API. Like tell PARSIQ to deploy my smart contract, do this transaction. It's a pretty big milestone, so that's kind of one of the last milestones, and it's going to take time. This will probably go into the beginning of 23 or such. But this is goes well with our mixed hybrid approach of how we see the industry progressing, like how they said Web3 applications will be partially decentralized, partially centralized, some parts of it on-chain, some parts of it off-chain, which is the most effective model in terms of both cost and user experience. And now with the we will build it in a way that theoretically will allow us to turn this into a full-fledged decentralized PARSIQ network. Doesn't mean we'll do it, but at least we'll build it in a way that allows it. And we don't know where on the roadmap this will be placed yet. So it's basically all of the previous that I've mentioned and the PARSIQ hybrid, the on-chain, off-chain task automation, the backends, but in a decentralized way and cross-chain, where there will be validators, where you can probably say like, hey, like this transaction happened on this chain, and validators can prove that and send that data and put it on the blockchain of another network and automate some kind of transaction based on that in a decentralized manner. So this is kind of where we a little bit might step on the toes of oracles, but this is conceptual. And we've simply built the foundation architecture in a way that will allow it. I'm not saying when we'll do it. I'm not saying we'll do it 100% at all. But this is something that could be done, and something that we've extensively discussed and taken into account when building the PARSIQ network. Right. So this is the overall roadmap, and collectively all these concepts, all these parts, they make up the PARSIQ network, the backend data infrastructure for Web3 applications, for teams to build on us, for third parties to use that, and we have a retail-facing component in the what we call the PARSIQ Atlas, the Explorer, which I think could be really interesting, because if we take all these data lakes and turn them into Explorer using a visual front end, that could provide for a lot of in-depth data that you cannot get in generalized blockchain explorers. Anyway, it's a lot of work. It's a huge roadmap. These are huge milestones. You'll get more color on this in later today on our socials, on our Medium. We have a bunch of dApps and protocols lined up to be early adopters of the Tsunami API and the ParsiQ network as a whole, and we will be working our way to be the industry go-to solution for building your data and backend infrastructure needs. So whenever someone thinks I'm going to develop a Web3 application or a Web3 protocol, they will think of ParsiQ. That's the goal. So you will see the roadmap today. The first milestone is the Tsunami API, and this should be a couple of months out. I don't know, maybe midsummer. So you'll have a better view. We don't want to give exact deadlines to have a little bit of flexibility, but the roadmap should give you a good idea of when it will be. Early adopters will also be announced today. No, they won't. They will be announced when the Tsunami API goes live. So PRQ Utility, the IQ protocol model is intact, which means that these dApps, these protocols, and any third-party users need to hold or rent PRQ tokens. So all of this will remain, and by our product being more focused on specific problem-solving use cases, we expect quite a lot of traction, and we can scalably grow the client and user base. So once we deliver, it will be I think we can see some good revenue growth. The DAO is not a maybe. The DAO will be, and there will be a lot of voting rights for the holders. That's all I'm gonna say for right now. Yep, a lot of utility questions. I think I covered this. General timeline also covered this. You will see a general roadmap for the ParsiQ network today. Yeah, I think we've covered all, at least to my knowledge. Yeah, so exciting times ahead in the sense that a lot of new products, a lot of new adoption, a focused product that can get traction in Web3 for people who are maybe less attracted by a fully centralized platform, since we'll be doing a mix of on-chain, off-chain, centralized, decentralized. It will come with a rebranding, so a lot of things to expect. The exchange listings are the go-ahead. We have been given the go-ahead, so all good on that front. We will be working on increasing the engagement for ParsiQ, especially around the ParsiQ network and the Tsunami API, but the general retail crypto community, as well as for our target audience of dApp builders and protocol builders, both big and small. And of course, with the whole concept of data lakes, you can expect a lot of collaborations with. We pretty much hope to have all dApps and protocols on there at one point or another by collaborating with them. So that means a lot of good synergies with both startup, small projects, as well as large established protocols. Tom, will there be surface level normal subscriptions renting PRQ behind the scenes for the new product? I mean, we haven't gotten that far yet. We'll actually, the ParsiQ network, you won't have to create an account by using your email or social login. It will be connecting via MetaMask, so that's all you need to get an API key or explore that data or use the PARSIQ network. And similarly, we'll start off with direct MetaMask payments. So going full Web3 vibe. But we will probably add fiat options at some point. Alrighty. I mean, that was a lot of information for one AMA. For those of you confused, do check out the CEO letter that will be published in our Medium. I'm sure our socials and Twitter and Telegram will announce it as well. Be on the lookout for some media publications regarding the Tsunami API and the PARSIQ network. And yeah, take a look at the roadmap. We're going to go ahead with all the other stuff we've discussed. We just held off on the listing, on some other initiatives to not release them before we release this. I think this is an extremely important milestone because we're basically building a new product on top of our existing platform, existing tech stack, which will be a Web3 focused product, and hopefully will become the de facto infrastructure for Web3 applications and protocols. All right, think we're done. No more questions here. Always happy to follow up at another time. Thank you everyone for tuning in. Be on the lookout for a lot of stuff that will be coming out today and in the next weeks and months. Have a good first day, everyone. Bye.